Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What Matters. I get to be your co host. I'm Coach Drew, and
Erica Elita, welcome.
tonight we're going to be talking about something I think is relevant to most people. I hesitate to put numbers on it because I was just telling Erica that I really hate statistics.
We had an interesting conversation.
Hate statistics.
Yeah, I had like statistics for me was like, no.
No. See, already it's going. Okay, you can use statistics. I welcome the use of statistics, but I rarely go along with statistics because they can always be twisted to say what you want them to say. That's my hesitation. But what I do believe, for the most part, is this time of year can be very difficult for many people for various reasons.
Absolutely. And it's the holidays. Now, some people are celebrating Christmas, other people are celebrating Hanukkah. There are a variety of holidays that come at this year, but no matter what your faith, religion, following is, it is a general time of festivities. And a lot of people have difficulties. And one of them, two of the biggest stressors, and I'm going to make some assumptions here, I would say are finances and family.
Yes, finances, family. You know, the reality is also that life doesn't stop at this time of year.
No.
So the same difficulties that we might have, like the loss of a loved one,
Absolutely.
that happens. Sometimes moving, changes of jobs, divorce, separation, those kinds of things, they are life-altering stresses. And when they happen at this time of year, it just compounds the stress
Absolutely.
because of finances.
Because
and
of
family.
finance. Exactly. And I have felt that so many years where I'm like, I really don't have space and time for Christmas this year. And because of my regular life being so busy, trying to fit in the holidays, fit them in, all the extra activities, the parties.
Yeah.
And even if you're not doing a lot of big gifts, there's the extra food that you buy, the entertainment, and so forth. So if you were already stressed financially, if you already feel like you're spread thin between work and projects and family, this time of year comes up and it can compound that feeling, right?
For sure. And, I'm thinking that maybe we could focus in on a theme that could tie these two together. Expectations.
Yes, the expectation. And it's very good that you're going with this, Andrew, because that's something I'm doing a bit of a self-check on right now myself.
I love you. You're always doing self-check.
I constantly
it.
self-checking.
Love
I
it.
just want to be the very best Erica I can possibly
That's right.
be.
That's right.
So, really, this Christmas, to be very honest, I have not been much in the spirit, And part of the reason why is because a family member passed away last week. So that's changed the whole tone of the season,
Right.
obviously. And then financial stresses. I'm in a different city. So the routine is completely different. And then it always feels that this time of year, quite honestly, it highlights all my shortcomings. That's how I feel. That all the things that I'm lacking, it's really highlighted during this time. Now, if you ask my friends and family, they're, what are you talking about? But I make an effort to make Christmas special for the people around me,
Right.
especially my kids.
Right.
And it can be exhausting when you're attempting to create this perfect atmosphere. So our expectations of ourselves and of others, we have to check them and really be realistic about what we want from this season and what we can give to it.
Right.
In terms of time, in terms of finances, and so forth. So absolutely, I think that checking of expectations, we see our Hallmark cards in the Hallmark movies, and the snow's drifting down really
Yes,
nice. They
yes.
never have slush in those movies.
No,
There's
nothing.
there's
No
never-
salt, no dirt, no.
nothing. It's just pristine
That's
white
right.
snow, right? And that's what you want for your holidays, and that's not how real life works.
You want a Pinterest holiday.
Yes,
right?
you want a
You want
Pinterest.
everything picture perfect. You want a Facebook holiday.
Absolutely, with just the pose. But life's not like that.
You're right.
So how do we manage our expectations?
Well, expectations, like everything else, are hard to manage when you're not aware of what they are. So you talked about the picture, the perfect Christmas. And we love people when we do, okay? we love them with this immense and intense love. And we want our gifts and we want the situation to be worthy, to be parallel with their worth.
Hmm.
But that's not possible. It's not. The amount of love that you have for your son and your children, is it possible for a gift to communicate that and equate that?
Not at all.
No, it's an unrealistic expectation. But if we have this desire to be perfect or for things to be just right, then we're setting ourselves up. That doesn't mean that it can't be wonderful and it can't be special and it can't mean the world to the other person. But it's important for us to know, okay, what are the expectations of ourselves?
Hmm.
When I was about 16, I would say that was the last time I really bought into Christmas gifts.
Okay.
At 16, you know, most people don't have a lot of money.
Hmm.
So I wasn't,
Shopping big time.
right. It wasn't anything new, but being the second eldest of four,
Hmm.
at that time single parent home, I had the role of, caregiver, surrogate father, all this kinds of stuff. So I was used to giving and doing, and that was my role. That was part of my identity.
Hmm.
And I didn't have the money to do it.
Mm.
I didn't. It broke me, to be honest with you, not just financially, but emotionally.
At 16
At
years old,
16.
imagine that.
Right? So, but what helped was that I can't remember if I was vulnerable enough or how my family came to see that about me, but they reassured me, like, Andrew, we know you love us. You give to us all year round.
Yeah.
And that helped me to modify my own expectations of myself. And since then, I have no intentions to go into debt for anybody to buy them a gift, because if they don't know that I love them already, a gift is not going to be enough to convey
To
that.
convey that. I agree 100%. And it's just like what people say about Valentine's Day or, and Christmas. That being fabulous on that one day of year, that's not what makes me know that you care for me, that you love me. It's all the little things that happen on the 364 other days
Right.
of the year. That consistency, that thoughtfulness, that really makes
Right.
that difference. And as parents now, when we set these lofty expectations, our children mimic them.
Oh, of course they do. And then they come to expect them. And then they sometimes can be a little bit entitled. And we reinforce this thing that we get caught up in that we don't want to be in. And then it goes from I'm always talking about generation to generation. It goes from one generation to the next and to the next. So
Right.
I think it's important to acknowledge what our pressure is all about, where it's coming from. And for the most part, it's coming from inside us, because at the end of the day, people aren't in control of what you do or what you believe. They might have impact, they might have influence, but ultimately you're in control.
Yeah, I think also too intent is so important because you know intent and checking your expectations, because I think that expectations and gratitude, it's like a scale.
Hmm.
And the higher your level of expectations is the lower your feelings of gratitude, right? It's like we were talking about this earlier today with some coworkers, and we were saying that we noticed that when you give children tons and tons of gifts, they don't seem to appreciate or register any of them.
Right.
The paper just comes off and they toss it. The paper comes off, they toss it. And by the time you're serving Christmas dinner that night, you're seeing pieces and bits of different things strewn about the house. And it makes you not just the monetary value, but standing in that line, clutching that box, thinking, oh, Timmy's going to love this. And Timmy broke it in 45 minutes because there was such a plethora
Yeah.
of things that it doesn't even register. But when you get one or two treasured things, you walk around with that doll or that train or
Right.
that car, and you know exactly where it is at all times because it's
Right.
not part of this pile. But as parents, and as you said, it does go from generation to generation, and that entitlement and that lack of gratitude, and thinking that I can show you how much I love you by this gift. And for me, I love gifts, by the way, just putting that out there. I absolutely love getting a gift. But you know what my favorite part, the best part to me about getting a gift? It's knowing that you were out there thinking about me.
Mm.
That is what thrills me about getting presents, honestly.
Right.
And the more thoughtful they are, like, it's not, if you hear me saying, I never have pens and they're never there, and you find me a cute little pen set with clips on it so I could keep it on my back, I'm blown away by that because it means you were listening to me.
Right.
And you thought of me when you weren't in my presence. And for me, that is the best part of
Right.
getting a gift.
Similar to being intentional about the gift, I think it's important to be intentional about what we value. So there is the monetary worth of this gift, but then there is the value that is attached to the gift because it's attached to who we are. So if I value you as a person, I value time with you. I'm not, gifts is not one of my 5 love languages. If you haven't read that book, it's a great
Yeah,
book.
you need to find out your love languages so you can speak to people and they can speak back.
Right. So it's not that
Absolutely.
I'm saying don't give gifts.
Mhm.
It's when you are giving a gift, what does it mean? What is the value associated? What is attached to that for you and then for the other person? And, you talked about sometimes, we're going to have to come back to this in the next segment, but you talk about the amount of gifts, the number of gifts sometimes impacting the level of gratitude. I think it's important to talk about poverty and how insidious that is, and then how we can extract the very few things that can be useful about poverty.
I can't, well, they do say that, when you go through trials, it makes you tougher and it makes you stronger. And I know anyone who was raised or currently lives in poverty would tell you, I could have skipped this lesson. I could have just left. You could have told me this in a different way, right? Yeah. But absolutely, poverty, I think that there are 2 ways that you come out of this. Either very grateful for the things that you have once you do make it, or again, that now there's too much and I don't really truly value any of it. One of my most treasured possessions is a rock. And if my daughter is watching, every time she sees this rock, she's like, you still have this rock? And it's because she made it in her first day camp, and it had like melted crayon and different colors on it, and it's very pretty. But my second child, years and years later, he started picking off the paint one day, and I was so upset. And he came back and he was like, I can't believe you're so mad about the rock. I'm like, do you know what that rock means to me? So it really isn't the value of it,
Right.
but what it represents. And just having this little conversation, look who didn't put on the timer. Just having this little conversation, it makes me realize why it gives me so much anxiety buying gifts for people. Because of exactly what you said. So when we come back from this break, which is a little overdue, won't say why, we will be discussing poverty and its impact. And I'm actually very interested to hear where this is going. I don't always know everything. See you in a minute.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
And we're back. Today we're talking about how to handle holiday stresses, and also too later we'll be discussing the gift of therapy. which will be very, very interesting. And for anybody out there who's been thinking about finding a therapist, getting therapy, giving themselves that gift in the coming year, we're going to tell you what to look for, how you know that you're getting the appropriate care. And so that will be in our last two segments. This segment, though, we're going to speak a bit about poverty and what I love what Andrew said, what you take from it and what it takes from you.
Right.
Because he's so eloquent. He says so many lovely things.
Sometimes
And
it just
flows.
happens. Sometimes.
And I was asking Andrew, he said that, he grew up lacking. There wasn't plenty.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I asked was, did you know at the time that you were poor? And what is your answer?
I think I did.
Okay.
I think I did. I grew up, not that everybody in Jane and Finch is experiencing poverty, but that's where I grew up, my younger years, the formative years. And, I have a lot of fond memories about that. You ever have, we call it bully beef.
Yeah.
Corned beef.
Corned beef and
people call it
rice.
Tin beef, right? And crackers.
Listen,
right?
that's a whole show in itself.
That's what I'm telling you. So the days when we had that for dinner, or eggs and crackers for dinner, those were delightful times. But in retrospect,
They weren't.
no, that's when your cupboard is bare and there's
Right.
nothing there, right? You turn to that. So for me,
Wow.
it highlights, and I'm aware that my experience of poverty is nothing in comparison to many other people's in other parts of the world. So that's not lost on me. But my experience of that, I'll talk about what it gave me that was positive.
Okay.
Even when we didn't have much, we still had each other. We had good times. I have fond memories of those years. We can laugh about the shoes that we bought from Kmart
Yeah.
and those kinds of things, and the fits that we'd have when we didn't get what we
Yeah.
wanted, and those kinds of things. But from a young age, I didn't really value name brands for those reasons. Like, it was a shoe.
Right? Because
Like-
that's what your mom told you. It's a shoe.
It's a shoe.
Like,
And I did go through my phase when, what do they call those things? Cross color and all those kinds of things.
cross
Yeah,
colors.
right? I'm dating myself. That's
yeah,
okay.
I was just about to say, dating
But-
both of us. That's all out there.
So, I trust me, yes, I was influenced and I was aware of those things that were happening at the time, but those things didn't matter so much. What I was not aware of was the insidious nature of poverty and how it impacted me, and I didn't even know it.
Okay.
Say, for example, now I'm still working through my own stuff, by the way.
Yes,
Still working through my own
yes,
stuff.
the therapist
Yes.
is still working through his own
We're
stuff.
always
Please
works
don't
in
tell
progress.
me you're okay. Don't do it. Do not tell me you're okay. Everybody needs some therapy. I have a gentleman on my timeline. He won't date you unless you go to therapy. That's his gift. He said, any woman I date seriously, I will pay for 7 sessions with the therapist. If you're not willing to do that, and he's not coming. He just wants you to work you out. So,
Wow,
yeah, I think that's amazing.
that's big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
So, being an entrepreneur, one of the things that I'm working out of myself is fear. So, entrepreneurs, you know about fear. You know that, sometimes you're afraid to try something, but one of the things that I discovered about myself was that I often felt hurried and anxious. I want to get my idea out there. I want to do it before somebody else does it. And the danger in that was it was driven by a fear that there's not going to be enough.
Not enough. That's right.
Whether it's not enough resources out there to go around, or I'm not going to have enough ideas coming out of here in case somebody else comes up with the same thing. There's not going to be enough. Where did I get that from?
Not growing up with enough.
Not having enough. It was in our dialogue. It was in our conversation. And I internalized it. I wasn't enough. Right?
Wow.
So even when you come to a talk show like this, of course it's important to be competent and to be prepared. But if you buy into the fact that what you carry is not a part of who you are, then you don't bring value in and of yourself. You got to find it from somewhere else. And that's a dangerous place to be.
that is, wow. I'm going to mull that one over. That really, you're absolutely, when I grew up, I guess everything is relative, because I heard my mom's stories of them growing up. So, like you said, it's all relative, right? And when you hear there's 11 kids sitting at the table, because she was one of 11, and Miss Martha from down the road comes and they're taking a piece from everybody's plate to feed the guests. And that's why when you have siblings, you eat your meat first or you eat your fried dumpling first. Like my mom says, yeah, you Canadian kids always leave the best for last, because
Right.
you don't know
'Cause
about
you
people
can't.
coming and taking your good stuff. And so then for me, I felt that we were okay. But then as I got older, I realized how much she struggled and how much she did to shield me from feeling like we did not have enough and there wasn't enough. Actually, for most of my life, my mother worked 2 jobs to make sure there was always enough. So then there was enough money, but was there enough mom, right?
Right.
For even for herself. So now myself, starting off having children young and in that cycle, now thank goodness I'm in the country that I am. There's lots of social help. College is essentially free. So I was able to do a lot of things that people in other places wouldn't do with the finances that I have. But that anxiety that you just spoke of, that's so interesting, because as an entrepreneur myself, that's something I constantly battle. And my mantra is do it because of love and not because of fear.
Right.
So I have to launch a project because I really like talking, or I really like, designing this thing, and not because I really need some money right now. So
Right.
let me,
Right.
but oftentimes, like you said, when you check yourself, when you really look at your own reasoning,
Right.
that is why. So I
Right.
see what you mean on
What
how
drives us, right?
What drives you?
us? What moves us? Is it that I'm not enough? Why I need more? It's an important question to ask. And then that then informs how we relate to other people. If we're constantly trying to measure up and question ourselves and our worth because somebody else has more or somebody else has something different, it's important to think about where that comes from. Because unless we really start to know ourselves and know the immense value that we have, we can't give that to other people. We can't give that to our children. We can't give that to our jobs. We can't even give that to our clients.
Yeah.
Right? So it's important to understand who you are. And you talk about, how you've made things work and how you've accessed things. Yes, it's important to get information. It's important to get good mentorship. It's important to get good education. You tapped into those things because you are a resourceful person. You are a determined person.
That's one
Right?
title I'll take. I'm determined.
You are determined. You do these things because you are creative. These things come out of the substance of who you already are. And I don't think most people know who they really are, what they have to give. So they settle for, whether it's the job, or they settle for pursuing the money sometimes that they don't have. Or even when they get the money, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Right? So, because so many people, I work with a number of youth, and they think that it's about the money. If I get the money, I'll be happy.
Right.
But I've also worked with so many, and still work with so many people with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Are they happy?
Nope. Money. It
Is the money enough?
No.
No, it's not enough.
And you just touched on something that made me think about how people will have a lot and not appreciate it. And that whole rich dad, poor dad, where you're raised in confidence. You're raised believing that you things are for you, and you have every opportunity in the world. And life can be what you make it, versus the person that's driven by fear, not having enough. Will it be okay? And I remember, my mom immigrated from the Caribbean to here and did what most people did in the 70s, got a great job in the hospital, which was amazing at the time because of the pay scale and everything. But then she was stuck in the mentality of just be grateful for whatever job you get, because you should just be happy you have a job. And that ties into not feeling like you're enough.
Right.
Not feeling that you deserve better, not believing you're entitled to more. And whatever you get, you should be happy with it and settle for it. Now, this doesn't conflict what we were saying earlier about being grateful for the gifts that you have and what you get, and being satisfied with being able to give people what you can within your
Right.
price range. Because maybe if you can't get the sweater you want, maybe bake that cake. Put yourself into what you're giving. And I saw the timer this time. So when we come back, we're going to start going down the path of the gift of therapy. So if you still have some people on your list, maybe this is what you need to get them. We'll be right back after this break.
Hello, my name is Anisha, and I'm the production manager of TCN Network. Have you ever wanted to host your own show? Do you have a message to share? Well, you're in luck. We are looking for dynamic and unique individuals to host their own shows. We are seeking people who are committed, motivated, and energetic. Do you want to be the next Jimmy Fallon, Ellen DeGeneres, or Shane and Ryan from BuzzFeed Unsolved? Start here. Fill out the Propose a Show form on mytcntv.com. We're here to educate, support, and build the community. Can you lead by example? Go the extra mile and seek knowledge? Are you humble, disciplined, responsible, selfless, and enthusiastic? Those are our core values. And if you identify with them, you could be part of a growing network that focuses on positivity and uplifting our community. We can't wait for you to join us on TCN Network and hope to hear from you soon.
So, we are back. We've been talking about life and what makes it difficult for many people at this time of year. And we made our way to a topic that was somewhat unexpected.
Yeah.
Poverty and how that can give to us some things and how it can take from us. And we might not even be aware. And, being aware, I think, is the most powerful gift that we can possess.
Absolutely.
And before we launch into the whole gift of therapy and what it is and who it's for and how you know when you're getting your money's worth, let's just tie these pieces together.
Okay.
Because when we become more aware of who we are, we can give of ourselves. So even that gift that is symbolic, it's important. Or even when you're talking about baking something for somebody, you will confidently value your presence, what you have to give. And if you don't have a lot of money at this point in time, if people around you don't appreciate the worth of who you are, then maybe they're not the people you should be spending the most of your time with.
And they're not going to value you more when you have more money. They will value your money.
Yes.
They're not going to value you.
So if you want a tip and, de-stressing yourself over these next few weeks, think about how you value yourself. And then either meet up with people who value you at that same level or higher. Okay? If people don't value you, they won't miss you. They will talk about you, but they won't miss you. They will talk about you whether you're there or not. So save yourself the stress and the drama and be with people who value you.
Yeah, with something, without something. And that's the friend that you'll say, meet me at this restaurant. I'm going to buy you dinner. And they're there. And then the same friend, you could call them and say, listen, I have one glass of water. They'll come and share it with you.
Yeah, they will.
It's you. It's not the things that surround you.
That's where the value is.
That's where the value is. And then this now extends to this season where, as you're saying, you're so stressed out. Oh, I can't give my mother-in-law the gift she deserves because, that sweater that I think she should have and she does and is worthy of her is $300 and that's not in my budget. But if your mother-in-law appreciates you and cares about you and values who you are, what you give her, because you're thoughtful, you're kind, you're considerate, will be of value to her.
And, to be honest with you, I don't know a lot of people that come from a person valuing centered kind of orientation. We value things, we value status, we value this. And I'm generalizing. That's why I'm not using any statistics, because I know I'm generalizing, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to appreciation and value, I think it's important to tie this into how you value yourself, how you view yourself, because that informs your expectations when you go to therapy, if you choose to go to therapy. So from my perspective, I've been on both sides of the table, the chair, whatever you want to call it.
No
And
couch? There's no couches?
some couches, depends on the size of the office, right? Where you're going. Um, it is a gift to oneself because in my estimation, there are three primary things that you benefit from getting out of therapy.
Okay.
Um, Awareness,
Mm-hmm.
tolerance, and intentionality. These are three levels that I continually see in my work with people and that I work with in myself as well. When you go and engage in a process, from my perspective, there's so much benefit in having an increased awareness about yourself, about whatever it is that brought you there, whether it's something that's generational or something that is seasonal. You have the opportunity to sit with another party who is objective enough to step back and help you consider all the factors that are attached to what it is that you're experiencing. Because in our own lives, we don't have that kind of objectivity. In our relationships with the people that we know and that we love, they don't have that kind of, they have a little bit more than you do, but their lenses are informed by their own personal experience and their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And agenda doesn't mean necessarily
Negative. It's not always
mean negative, right?
No.
They might love you so much that they don't want you to be in any pain, when sometimes pain is good.
Yeah, it's part of growth.
Right.
And
right.
the first step that you said, the awareness thing, and I'm going to tell anybody who's going to embark on a journey to know themselves and to do better for themselves, it hurts. It really does. Looking at yourself, truly looking at yourself, figuring out why you do what you do.
It's not comfortable.
It's not comfortable. It's not a comfortable place. But as you go through it, you become so comfortable with yourself and who you are. And recognizing what you do, why you do what you do, helps you change it. It helps you stop patterns and to alter
Right.
your behavior. So that awareness is, like you said, it's not always comfortable, but it's extremely important. And I read a great quote. And you tell me if this, well, I think it's a great quote. You're going to tell me if this is accurate. They said, a therapist is not someone you pay to pretend to care about you. A therapist is someone who teaches you how to care about yourself.
I think there's great value in that, for sure. And, the reality is, as many as there are people, there will be that many therapists.
Right.
So if you've seen one, you have not seen them all. That said, they look different. You can have a good therapist who looks like and sounds like, and the interaction feels like one with someone like me, but then you could have someone who is completely different. They might not be as engaged, or they might not be as, alive and vibrant, but the quality can still be there. You can still get that stuff that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So having a good fit is important. You might meet somebody for the first time and you don't get a good vibe. Sometimes the first time is not enough to really know, because it might be your stuff and it might be their stuff.
Right.
But if you get a sense of who you are and know what you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
you can be open with that person and then say, okay, I don't think this is a good fit. Or you can walk in and say, this is what I'm looking for. But the reality is, sometimes people who are new to the process don't even know what they're looking for.
Right.
But that's part of that first creation of awareness or exploration of this. For most people, by the time you leave that first session, even if you didn't know what you went there for, you can walk away with a more clear sense of what it is that I want to get out of this process.
When you first meet you brought up a scenario, and you meet a therapist and you don't like them. Couldn't part of that be someone showing you your stuff? Like, you go in, you have a lot of things to resolve, and they start to point out those things or bring awareness to those things. And well, I don't want to talk to you. All you're doing is telling me that this isn't right and that. Couldn't that be part of that rejection of the therapist, that there's too much truth all at once?
Well, I think right now the people that we are kind of maybe talking to are the people who are open and wanting it.
Okay, so these aren't forced.
No, when people are forced to go, they've already got their guard up. I mean, like big time. So they're going to most likely not like the person.
Right.
But usually, when most people want to engage in a process, that's not what's gonna turn them off. If the person doesn't have a lot of skill, if they're incompetent, you usually can tell.
Okay.
Right. If they go in and they're judgmental and they're telling you, right, they're trying to.
That's not for you. So let's start at the beginning before we go to the break. Who needs therapy? How do you know if you need therapy?
Well, put it this way. When your coping strategies are communicating to you that they're not working anymore, right? Because coping and change, they're not the same. They're very different things. A lot of times people say they're okay, like we were talking about, I'm okay, but they're just coping. They're dealing, but they're not really experiencing any movement or any change. If you've been stuck in a cycle for some time, it's good to talk to somebody else. It really is.
So this could be with anything: career, relationship, eating.
Yeah.
It's all of these things.
Yeah.
So once you're now, how do your coping how does that communicated? I mean, is it physical?
All of the above.
So when you are feeling overwhelmed, when you find yourself getting sick, when you have random pains, when your relationships are breaking down around you,
when you are hurting yourself and doing things that move you in the opposite direction of you, where you know you want to go, you have some coping strategies that are what people call maladaptive. They're not working for you. They're working against you. They might have worked for a time, but that time has since passed.
So now it's time to seek some therapy. And we're going to tell you how to do it and, as you said, how to recognize what it is that you need and if it's working for you. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to this last episode of What Matters for the Year. I will be back in January. And we are talking about holiday stress, how to cope, which led us into a conversation that wasn't expected, which was poverty and the impact it has on us, what it gives to us and what it takes from us. But it really does tie in because a lot of the anxiety that you feel over the holidays, it really is tied to your sense of worth. Like, this is a whole like light bulb that just happened during this conversation with Andrew, and this is why I love having him. It's really tied into your sense of self-worth. And when you feel that everything that you do during the holidays has to have a monetary value on it or a level of intensity, you have to be at every event. You've got to do everything. You got tree lighting and this with your kids, and you pull yourself so thin that all of January you're sick. You're tired. Trying to recover. You're still in February, not doing good.
Still in debt.
Debt? What? This is not what the holidays are about. This isn't what it's for. And as you value yourself more, you your belief in your value translates into your relationship with others. Am I a good student?
Yeah,
Am I getting this
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Good
for
job.
sure.
I'm telling you, I learn stuff.
But you know, I think even though we're talking about it on a conscious level, I think intuitively, like we know these things, they're not right. They're not working. We feel stuck. We feel unsure. We feel angry and frustrated. Those are other indicators that our coping strategies, they're just not working, and the choices that we're making, they're not working. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to advocate for everybody to come and see me. That's not what I'm saying.
He has colleagues.
Right? Yes, I have colleagues, competent colleagues.
Competent colleagues.
But I need it. Everybody needs it. And I really value that because there's a difference between therapeutic conversations and therapy.
This is the therapeutic conversation.
It is, right?
But it is not therapy.
But it is not therapy. You're right. So we have people in our lives, and that's great to have informal support. We have that brother, we have that sister, we have that friend, we have that coworker. Those people are important.
Very.
However, if you find that you're stuck and you're experiencing some of those intense emotions that we talked about, it might be a good time to move it to the next level, whether that means reading a book or watching a podcast, taking a course, those kinds of things. Because there are levels to intervention. There are levels to things that you can do. But when you find, okay, you know, I've been here for some time. I think I want to talk to somebody. I think I want to see somebody. Again, looking at finding a good fit is important.
Okay.
Don't expect the process to be easy, like you were saying, because when we start to become more aware of the things and the patterns, particularly the beliefs and the pains that we've held on to for a long time, it can be uncomfortable. So things might seem to get worse before they get better.
Better, yes.
But the process helps us to tolerate our pain better. In the new year, I'm going to do a number of workshops and webinars, and one of them is actually on effective journaling. And you'll see how talking and writing helps us to sit with our stuff to the point where we understand it and it doesn't impact us as much. It doesn't hurt us.
Yes.
We can work through these things. And I think a good therapeutic process helps that. I think a good therapy, relationship helps that to the point where you can be intentional. Intentionality is the key. We will never be free of stress.
Right.
We will never be free of pain. But when we can be intentional about our choices, our thoughts, aware of our beliefs, and we can choose what to believe, then we can choose what we do. I was saying it to you before. Our speech often betrays us because what you say informs how you think, and how you think informs how you feel, and how you feel informs what you do and how you live. So a good therapy relationship is going to pay attention
your word choices.
to your words, the words you say and the words that you don't say. They're trained with an ear that's going to be like, okay.
You said all that, but you didn't mention this.
Right. So it's not necessarily a relationship that you have to engage in every day for the rest of your life or every week for the next 10 years.
And it could be different people, right? Like you do see one therapist and you may move on to another. You can go to individual therapy. You can start by yourself. If you are you're married, you have a serious relationship, you may decide to bring your significant other, your spouse. It could be family therapy where it's literally a group session. And wouldn't things like, and correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't things like Alcohol Anonymous and so forth, isn't that a group therapy session?
Definitely. So there are groups, and then there's group therapy. So there's group support, and they have a therapy kind of element. But there's different levels of experience and training. So you might go to an AA group and find a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, whatever. Or you might find somebody who is experienced, but they don't have clinical training.
Right.
So it's important to get a sense of what it is that you need, as well as where you feel comfortable, and then you walk through that process like that. There are lots of options out there, and sometimes that can be part of the overwhelm.
Anisha, did I do that again? Okay, good job. Just making sure that I didn't run over the timer. So what types of therapy, this might just not be a good question. But what because I have a feeling the answer is very big. But what types of therapy? I won't say what types of therapy are there because I think that you see some crazy stuff on the internet. But what types of legitimate therapy would you, Coach Drew, recommend? I'll bring it to that.
Well, the reality is different types of situations might be better served by different kinds of therapy and different therapists.
Okay.
So it's easier for me to talk about how I work.
Okay.
So I think you can't get away from what's called cognitive behavioral therapy.
That's what I was thinking.
So cognitive behavioral therapy, basically, cognitive meaning your thoughts, your thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Behavior is obviously your behavior, and then therapy is doing the work.
Right. So
But
how your thoughts affect your behavior
and your
like,
emotions and how they
therapy.
all work
Right.
together.
Okay.
Right. So regardless of what kind of therapy you do, you cannot get away from thinking and feeling and doing. That's just what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But different practitioners will do it different ways. So you can do it, a manualized way where you have a book like Mind Over Mood, which you can pick up in the store and work through on your own.
Okay.
Right? It's a very helpful book. However, if you have challenges starting something and finishing and focusing all the way through, and you don't like that kind of day-to-day kind of, that might be more difficult to do on your own. But CBT is good. Narrative therapy, people who work with the stories of your life, you walk in there and your story is valued and it's valid. I think that's important.
Right.
Then there's the experiential component where there's a teaching element to what I do, and I try to use the education aspects of it in line with what somebody's experiencing. I don't just give people information.
Right.
Here, take this and go read this. Some people like that. But when somebody comes in and they've experienced significant trauma over various parts of their lives, sometimes they might benefit from reading a book. Other times they will benefit from somebody just knowing, okay, typically when this happens to somebody, this is what they experience. And you can see that in various parts of their lives.
Right.
But you can sit with that. A relationship-oriented therapist, I think, is great for trauma because they can just be with you in a way that is so welcoming and so safe. And that's what a lot of people don't experience. They're afraid, to be judged or harmed in some way, shape, or form. So those are just a few kinds of therapy that I kind of work into what I do with people.
Okay. Well, I mean, as you said, you from all your visits and especially the first one, The Art of the Genuine Apology, which is Andrew's book, it's mind-blowing. The art of the apology. I mean, at first when he came in, and then you said to me, well, it's not you apologize, you forgive, and then you reconcile. It's that wasn't the order at all. It was that you forgive,
Right.
and there's an apology and a reconciliation. And I'm telling you, that still makes my eyes open big because I never thought that it worked that way. So the learning component and understanding, I completely see. And for somebody like me, understanding, I have to understand. If you just tell me to do something, I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to try other ways because I don't know why I should do it like that. So I need to understand. And so explaining that education, that really works for me. And then I think when you educate someone, they can take that and they can apply it to other areas in their life. And they'll say, oh, wait, I'm doing this. What does this mean? And I could take this lesson and apply it here.
Right.
So I definitely see how that ties in. So before we wrap up, you can definitely, if you'd like to contact Andrew, you can find him at coachdrew.ca.
Yes.
Correct? So you can send him a message at coachdrew.ca. But he also has, as I said, many, many colleagues. So if there's something in particular that you're looking for, or if you prefer to have a woman therapist or whatever it is, I'm sure that Andrew can point you in the right direction.
I will do my best.
Yeah.
And before we go, I think it's important because I've met with a lot of people who have come away from some unhelpful therapy experiences. So I do think it's important to verify that you are meeting with somebody who's qualified and registered and all those things. I think that's really, really, really important. Really, really important. And yes, you can reach me at www.coachdrew.ca. My website is going to be kind of reconfigured over the next day or two. So if you don't have success there tonight,
You'll have it tomorrow.
try tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, so that's it for us. I'm wishing you a very happy holiday. I hope you take stock of who you are and how much value you have
Yeah.
to the people in your life that value you. And it's not about dollars and cents. Spend the time, love yourself, and part of loving the people around you is taking care of you.
100%.
And we will see you in the new year on What Matters.